Husband's insecurities transformed into delusion. My, 35 female, husband, 43 male, has become more and more insecure in our relationship the longer we have been married. He has progressed from always side-eyeing my outfit, to being so hateful about me seeing friends of basically quit, to, what's been the worst so far, waking me up at 1:30 a.m., phone in hand, accusing me of being in a video on Pornhub. Readers, I'm a chubby Latina. While the actress had similar anatomy, I've never been a skinny white girl with no ass. He insisted for almost 30 minutes it was me, because she sounded like me, had similar looking hands and interrupted my already strained sleep. We have a 10-month-old son. I'm still not sure he believes it wasn't me. I'm at a loss. I do love him, but at this point I don't think it's fixable. I want a normal relationship. I'm so tired of arguing when there aren't even logical allegations. At what point do you throw in the towel and walk away? At what point do you throw in the towel and walk away? Probably when someone is waking you up in the middle of the night to belligerently accuse you of being a porn actress of a different race. You have a son. If he grew up to be exactly like your husband and treat a partner exactly like your husband treats you, would you be glad or upset? This raises my hackles a lot. There might be a psychiatric disorder at play. Either way, this is really scary. He is abusing you and he knows exactly what he is doing. This sounds like mental illness. Did these insecurities exist before you were married? This isn't insecurities, it's full-blown mental health problems. This could be a long fight. I worry for the son. My, M19, girlfriend, F20, laughed at me for crying at anime, and now I feel betrayed. Okay, let me see how to put this. I know guys are not supposed to cry over silly stuff like this, but I am not a very masculine guy, the first guess. Well, let me start off then. I remember watching a show called Space Dandy from when I was really young called Space Dandy on Toonami. Well, I decided to rewatch it now all in order, since it was one of the first animes I saw, and I never seen more than like 8 episodes when I saw it as a kid. I decided to rewatch it, and it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot, and felt it was really short. But where my story comes in is towards the end of my watching experience, when my girlfriend came in to watch an episode with me. Well, there is one character named Scarlett, and it was hinted at that she would get in a relationship with the main character, throughout the show. Well, towards the end of one episode, she goes to a bar to meet him, and he rushes to the bar to try and meet her before time runs out. He is a minute late, and she already left, so he runs out, and searches for her. He calls for her name, and she turns around, but then this long-ass train comes in, it blocks the road, and by the time it passes she is already gone. The next day he meets her, and she acts fairly cold towards him. When I saw this episode, I actually had some tears coming down my face at the end, and I tried to hide it from my GF, but she ends up noticing. She sees me, and starts laughing at me. She said, "Oh my fucking god, Jake, are you really crying at a cartoon?" And I told her no, but I kept crying, and it got worse, since when she said that I tried not to cry but that only made it worse, so she kept laughing. She said, "Dude, seriously, you're a grown man, you don't cry while watching cartoons." I tried to ignore her, but I feel really hurt and betrayed on the inside after she did that. Any advice on what to tell her, or how to express my feelings? Definitely express your feelings. She's probably going to react poorly based on this. She seems incredibly toxic. You shouldn't be with someone who makes you feel that way and believes in such horrible ideas. It's a great anime. Anime can be seen as art. You can cry for any reason, and her shaming you is just disgusting. I'm so sorry that your girlfriend is such a jerk. Crying is totally normal and okay. I bet she cries too when a sad scene comes up in a series or movie she's watching. Tell her how much she hurt you. In a healthy relationship, both need to be able to express their feelings towards each other. If she's unable to understand that, I'm sorry. That's a deal-breaker. Show her this thread. Tell her I said she's toxic and you deserve someone who won't laugh at you when you're crying. I don't understand what difference it makes. Anime or cartoon can have beautiful stories or touching moments, and as long as they do that, we are allowed to feel our emotions and hence, cry. Humans are emotional beings after all. For what it's worth, I was crying my eyes out when I was watching Hunter x Hunter: The Final Moments of Meruem and Kamugi. Also, let us all not genderize the acts of showing our emotions, e.g. crying. Crying is not being not masculine or weak. The act of expressing our emotions is beautiful. Your girlfriend is unironically reinforcing toxic masculinity. Men can cry. Men are allowed to cry. You shouldn't feel ashamed for crying. If a film or TV show makes you sad, crying is a perfectly reasonable reaction. If you want advice on what to tell her to get bent. You can do better. GF had a FWB while dating me. We actually didn't sleep together until after 2 months of dating, as she wanted to take things slow and build an emotional connection before taking things physical, and it was perfect for me as I am demisexual, so I also need to have a connection to really enjoy sex. So we went out on dates, movies, parks, dinner, hiking, and even camping, but never had sex. The most we did was cuddle and a couple of kisses. And when we finally had sex, it was as good as I had imagined. I thought we were a very strong couple, but I know all of it was a lie. Why? Because my girlfriend was still having sex with her FWB while we were building up our emotional connection. WTF? I mean, I have faced disappointments in love life, but nothing like this. What a way to build up trust over 2 months and yet to go back and do the exact opposite of what you were telling me. How happy she was that we building up intimacy before jumping into sleeping together. Nice way to build intimacy, I guess. I feel so stupid right now, like yes, I am 28, but I should have seen it coming. How naive and stupid you have to be to believe that a 30-yo woman will not have sex for 2 months. What she meant was she won't have sex with me, but I have been known to be naive. So I trusted her. WTF do I do now? I still love her. I'm really sorry for you. Bail on her. She wasn't honest. End of story. You wear plan B, she didn't want to cheat on her FWB with you. He probably didn't want to get serious with her. You might want to ask him why? I get that some people today feel like you need to have a notarized exclusivity letter signed by your lawyers and filed at the National Archives before they won't sleep with other people, but I assure you, not everyone feels that way. If you don't feel that way, you've just got to be upfront about it. Just tell them early, I only date one person at a time, and I only date people who do the same. If that's not okay, then it's been good getting to know you. As for this girl, she's made it clear that the two of you have different attitudes on sex. I'd move on and find a woman that has the same attitude as you. I still love her. Was she at least honest about it? Or did she keep it from you and you had to find out via another way? ETA. Sometimes to love someone is to walk away from that person. To protect yourself. She is not the person who you thought she was. She lied about her entire personality, there is no coming back from that. Don't be a chump. Did the two of you ever talk about being exclusive? My boyfriend keeps giving advice when I just want someone to listen. I, F23, live in a joint family and sometimes it gets so overwhelming because I feel like I keep a lot of it in and I have no one to talk to. The tension started when I lied and went to California with my friends and said it was a school trip. I didn't party or anything, I just wanted to travel and see more of the world. In other families I don't think traveling with friends would be a big deal, but in mine it was, so I lied. My cousins told my parents and it was a whole shit show where I had to confess. Tensions have been high ever since because my parents, although were very mad at me and still are, disagree with how I was treated, and this affects my mom the most. I think she's traumatized too. There was a lot of rude things said that I just had to let go for the sake of my mental well-being, but my mom can't let them go and there are constant fights between the two families. It's really rough on me because I feel like I started this and I never would have gone to California had I known this was going to happen. Now my dad said that if you get your realtor license, I already have my BSc and am taking a year off before I started my other degree because I needed the break, then we can go. This house is no environment to study because there are always fights and I have to get involved to mediate even though I'm not. My mom and I are the black sheep of this family and my dad won't even defend her, so I have to do his part. Now I have the added stress that we won't be able to get a house until I finish this course and get us a house, sell this one. It's a lot of mental load for one person because so much has happened. I talked to my boyfriend, M23, about this and I was having a full-on meltdown because as I was talking to him, I realized that I'm not lazy for putting the course off for a few months. I've been through so much, including being isolated by everyone, proving to them that I'm not a bad person and justifying myself every time I go out, etc. I had this realization yesterday and I just wanted to vent and I wanted someone to listen. But he kept giving me advice instead, but I already know what I need to do. It wasn't bad advice, but all these emotions were overflowing and I had never talked about this until now, but even now I felt like I wasn't able to fully express myself without being interrupted. Eventually I gave up and listened to him. Then it hurt for some reason when he said, "I think I just have a way of talking to people." I don't know why that hurt. I think it's because although he's the youngest in his family, he has had to be the adult when it came to arguments and advice. But he doesn't need to do that with me. I just need to vent and just get it out and feel validated, and then I'll be like, okay, it's not that bad, and do what I need to do. The question is, how do I tell him how I feel? Because I feel like any way I put this, is gonna come off as offensive. Update. Thank you guys so much for the advice. I am going to see him soon and talk to him. I really appreciate all of the perspectives. I just need to vent and just get it out and feel validated. Read this to him. Tell him that you need to vent, and not the advice. I was like your boyfriend some years ago. Always gave advice because that is what I want when I vent. I don't want someone to give me emotional support, but I want them to give me mental support. I always felt the emotional support is not genuine, so I never gave that to anyone and always gave advice. One day my best friend got angry at me and told me that me giving advice is not helpful. It was and is still a strange concept for me. But after that I learned they needed a different approach, so I decreased the advice giving as much as I can. I work as a consultant and I constantly try to analyze problems. My significant other and I have a system where if she is venting at me I just ask, "Do you want my help or do you want me to listen?" It is very blunt and on the nose, but we used to have this exact problem and direct communication solved the issues. As a married man I had to learn this. Sometimes she doesn't want you to solve the problem, just to listen. I have tried to pass this knowledge on to young men I meet. You said you are 23? Why is it an issue for you to travel anytime you want? My boyfriend and I struggle with this with each other too. It stems from a desire to help as much as possible. What I did when it was getting too much, was show my boyfriend the episode of Parks and Rec where Anne is pregnant and wants to complain, and feels bad for getting irritated that Chris keeps looking for solutions to her problems instead of just listening. This helped facilitate a dialogue between us, and if the other person ever gets too helpful, as we like to say, we just reference this episode.